Dipty's joined us on set. That means it's time, of course, to have a look at the French newspaper. She's starting today with a final memorial service later today. This is for Father Jacques Hamel, of course, the priest who was killed a week ago almost.
That's right, Stuart. Father Jacques Hamel will be buried this Tuesday in the French city of Rouen. It's sort of a final memorial service for the slain priest. Now, ever since his death last week, that we've seen a lot of religious harmony, a lot of religious unity on show in France, especially between Muslims and Catholics. It's what Libération calls a sacred union on its front page. But the left-leaning paper does say in its editorial that we need to go further. This editorial is called Aller plus loin. We need to make this harmony long-lasting, concrete, and most importantly, real. Libé says we need to give the means to allow Muslims in Europe, as well as in France, to practice their religion peacefully. But the newspaper also warns that this alone will not solve, at least in the short term, the threat of terrorism.
Now, one big issue that's really been debated here in France over the last few weeks to do with Islam is fighting against foreign financing of mosques, isn't it? Le Figaro's taken this up today.
Well, Le Figaro says the government must follow up on its promises to, quote, reorganize Islam. That's what it says on its front page. French Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve met with Muslim leaders yesterday in the hopes of sort of forging a new path forward, a new relationship. But among those measures that the French government are looking for in the fight against radicalism, as you mentioned, is sort of trying to rein in foreign financing of mosques. Now, Cazeneuve is actually responsible for religious worship in France, so this is why it's an issue he's looking at. He's vowed to crack down on mosques and really any religious institution that essentially doesn't toe the line. Already around 20 mosques have been shut down. Now, there's also, as you mentioned, discussion of forbidding foreign investment, but this is something that's going to be debated by lawmakers in the fall.
Some people saying that cracking down on this is not the answer, though.
Well, that's according to a French senator who was interviewed by Le Figaro. Hervé Moret, he says, quote, the idea of a moratorium on foreign funding is meaningless. The reason being that foreign funding they're relatively small contributions to mosques in France. Furthermore, it's sort of playing into dangerous stereotypes, saying that if, for instance, Morocco or Saudi Arabia funds a mosque, then indirectly they're sort of sympathetic or supporting terrorism. Now, another specialist interviewed by the website Lobs says that mosques aren't really even part of the problem. Young people are radicalizing on their own through the internet, for instance. They do it in secret. They also sort of alienate themselves from the community, especially imams, and they stop going to the mosque altogether. That's why, for this expert in Lobs, it's more important to look at reforms, for instance, in national education in the fight against Salafism.
Another big story here in France, that's the death of a young man during his arrest. Back on July the 19th, this actually happened in a Parisian suburb.
That young man was Adama Traoré, and he died on July the 19th in Beaumont-sur-Oise, which is sort of near Paris. And his family have insisted since his death that he died because of a blunder by police in police custody. Now, as you might recall, Traoré's death triggered days of protests and accusations of police brutality, racial profiling. Well, now Libération reports that in this article entitled "The Truth Suffocated or Stifled," a play on words, that two separate autopsies carried out on Traoré's body actually revealed that he died of asphyxiation. Now, Libé is sort of making the link between that and the testimony by one of the three police officers, who said that they, quote, used physical force strictly needed to control him, but that the young man was powerless against the weight of three policemen on him. And Libé says perhaps this asphyxiation or lack of oxygen could have come as a result of that.
And Le Monde is looking at the methods used by the policemen here, isn't it?
Well, in this article, the newspaper reminds readers that a report released in March by an anti-torture NGO actually called for a ban on this type of choking hold, if you like, because it could lead to asphyxiation. You might remember that was sort of a similar case to Eric Garner, who was subdued by police in New York.
Finally, going with football. The legend Pélé, he's giving an interview to Le Parisien 3 days before the Olympic Games begins in his home country.
Well, he says the Games are going to be a, quote, party. That's what he's told
Hope so.
Le Parisien newspaper. We're all hoping that.
Yeah.
Well, he also talked about what it was like to carry the Olympic torch through the city of Santos, and also speaks of his dream of lighting the cauldron. The reason being the name of the person who'll be lighting that cauldron this Friday. It has still not been really revealed, much like Brazil's Olympic preparations. Everything's a little last minute. But Pélé is hoping that he'll be the chosen one. He is, in any case, the one who's rumoured to be doing it.
Hopefully, the Olympics will at least give us something positive. We all need something positive after the last few months of very depressing news, I think. Thank you very much, Dipti, with the papers.